Now in addition, what about anaerobic soils? Sometimes we have soil organic matter that's preserved for a long period of time, not because it's biochemically recalcitrant, but because just decomposition is very slow. And this happens often in anaerobic soils. Now, if you remember, in order for respiration to proceed, you need a terminal electron acceptor. Respiration is the generation of electrons and passing down till it's accepted onto a compound. And so in anaerobic soils, we're not going to have oxygen present to serve as a terminal electron acceptor. And when oxygen isn't present, there's other factors, other molecules or elements that can accept those electrons. After oxygen, nitrate is generally the second best electron acceptor. And that generates a process called denitrification. Denitrification is the transfer of electrons from organic matter to nitrate. So you have nitrate, for example, that then is going to accept electrons and get turned into other nitrous oxides, for example, or into N2. Something like that. So electrons come down, nitrate serves as a terminal electron acceptor, and then you generate new gases associated with nitrogen that then leave the system. Now, nitrification is an aerobic process. It's a process by which oxygen and ammonium are going to react and form an inorganic form of nitrogen, nitrate. So nitrification requires oxygen. But denitrification is an anaerobic process. So soils that are going to produce a lot of nitrate tend to be aerobic soils. Soils that produce a lot of denitrification and take that nitrate and turn it into gaseous products require anaerobic conditions. So another product of an anaerobic soil is the loss of nitrate from those soils. But anaerobic soils tend not to have a lot of nitrate. So in order for there to be a lot of denitrification, you have to have some kind of spatial or temporal variation in oxygen availability that gives you both oxic and or aerobic and anaerobic situations. Another factor associated with anaerobic soils is not only the reduction of decomposition due to lack of oxygen and also denitrification, but methanogens and the production of methane. So to be a methanogen means that you generate methane. And these are bacteria in archaea, for example, that can take organic compounds and release methane. So there are two general basic processes that generate methane. And the first is to take acetate and split it. And this hydrogen comes over to the CH3 group, and then you end up with CO2, which is right here, and CH4. And that's a transfer of energy from within this molecule. Also, in other systems, you can get the production of hydrogen gas, which then can be used along with CO2 to generate methane and water. Now, methane is important as far as global gas greenhouse warming is concerned, and methane itself is a relatively high energy molecule. So it's anaerobic conditions where you don't have oxygen, for example, as a terminal electron acceptor, that we need to use CO2 or hydrogen as that terminal electron acceptor. And a byproduct of that is still a relatively high energy compound, methane, but it's still energetically favorable to go along this pathway. And often there's no other choice for decomposition in an anaerobic environment than to produce methane. Now, there's actually a lot more methane that is produced within an ecosystem than is lost from an ecosystem. Because methane itself is a high energy molecule, so CH4 is a hydrocarbon. You have hydrogen and carbon. In each of these bonds, between carbon and hydrogen have a lot of energy and can be used in respiration. And there's a class of organisms of bacteria and archaea, methanotrophs, that can take methane and use it as an energy source, but it requires oxygen. So often in a wetland, you'll have a relatively thin aerobic layer. So there'll be oxygen here, and there won't be oxygen down here, below that layer. And this is where methane is produced, in the anaerobic layer. It's released as a gas, but then it hits the oxic layer. And when there's oxygen present, there'll be methanotrophs that are present to take oxygen along with methane and turn it into, use it for respiration. And so the amount of methane that's produced can be a lot higher than the amount of methane that's lost from an ecosystem.